This is a lecture from Open Tuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
Now, I said I would get back to diversification. Remember, we had two sorts of diversification. We had unrelated diversification, and this is this one. Unrelated or conglomerate diversification, basically random businesses stuck together. You need to be very, very suspicious about this. Usually it leads to a loss of value instead of an increase in value. You have to think, what's the benefit of bringing two unrelated businesses together? It's, let's say, supermarket business and a house building company. What's the purpose of bringing them into one group? Because you're certainly not going to get synergy. You're not really going to be able to combine the head offices, combine the IT systems, combine the marketing, because they are so different. If they're radically different, you're not going to get synergy. And what tends to happen very often is you bring them together into one group, and the people in head office feel that almost to justify their existence and their salary, they have to start meddling in these subsidiaries. And they turn what had been quite a successful business, they turn it into an unsuccessful business because they try to apply inappropriate management styles. But the only time where conglomerate diversification is justified is if the subsidiary you're taking over is at the moment underperforming. And what you do is you basically you turn it around. So it's been badly managed at the minute. You buy it at a low price because its profits are low. You sack the managers, you put in new managers, they turn it around, they make the profits higher. That will make its value higher. You can sell it on at a profit. But if you take on a business which is already performing really well, you have to think, what benefit is this merger or this bringing it into the group going to give? Where are we going to squeeze more profits from? And as I say, usually you don't squeeze profits from it. You destroy profits in some way, and you often end up selling it back to the original owners at about half the original purchase price. All of these other ones here, backward vertical integration, horizontal, and forward vertical integration, they're all related diversification. There is some connection between the holding company, if you like, and the various subsidiaries. An example of horizontal diversification, you can see it in one of the European airlines, SAS, which is a Scandinavian airline system. They own Radisson Hotels. And you see that's going to work because when you go onto the SAS website, you book a flight. The flight's leaving at 5:30 in the morning or something. Radisson tends to have hotels at airports. Then they can say, you're leaving very early, would you like to stay the night before? So there's no worry or bother getting to the airport on time for your early morning flight. Or if you get into the airport at kind of 1 in the morning, again, they can offer accommodation. They're both in the kind of service industry. They're both dealing with the travelling public, tourists and so on. There's a lot of kind of shared knowledge and marketing skills which could be shared between them. A lot of cross-marketing is going to be possible, and it just makes very good sense. They will probably make quite good profits from that merger. Backward vertical integration is basically where you take over a supplier, and forward vertical integration is where you take over a customer. String of shops, say. It seems superficially a good idea because you're making goods, let's say, and you sell them for 10 and you see them in the shop at 25 and you get all kind of insulted. Gosh, they're selling my goods at 25. I only sold them at 10. If I took them over, I could have my profit and their profit. There's a lot of kind of almost feeling of greed coming out of it here. How dare they make profits out of me? But you have to be careful about it. For example, one of the things that can happen is you are dealing with a different business. This one is manufacturing, and this one is sales. Taking over a string of outlets, the shops. What makes you think that because you can run a manufacturing business well, you can run a retail business well? There's a chance that you will meddle inappropriately in this new subsidiary's business. You lose what's called the discipline of the market. So if you take over a subsidiary, if you take over your supplier here, then in a way they kind of have a sigh of relief, really, because they say, right, anything I produce, these people are going to buy. And they kind of think then, well, I don't have to watch my costs, I don't have to watch the quality. Almost any old rubbish I produce, they're going to buy it. That's why they bought me, was to have an in-house supplier. And they get very sloppy. Think what would happen if instead of having your in-house supplier, you had, let's say, 5 suppliers, and every time you placed an order, you said, what's your price, what's your quality, what's your delivery date, and so on. You'd be looking at them, innovative products that they're trying to sell you, and so on. It keeps them on their toes. Whereas once you're in-house, you relax. There's also a danger that you take over a supplier, maybe perfectly good, but another supplier out here has some sort of technical breakthrough, and suddenly is producing a much better component that you need, much more cheaply and much higher quality than your in-house person that you're kind of tied to there. So you lose the choice, really. By and large, the habit nowadays, or the style nowadays, is not to vertically integrate. It is to try to only do what you're really good at, only look after your core business, and to outsource everything else. Outsource the supply of components. Outsource maybe human resources. Outsource looking after the sales, so the receivables ledger to a factor. Outsource even internal audit to another firm. Outsource IT to a facilities manager. So you get rid of all of this stuff that you don't make profit out of, and you look after where you really generate profits, where your core competences really are. And this is the habit, rather than, it's better maybe outsourcing each time to the best of the best. Outsource to a really good supplier. That's the way to do business, rather than trying to do it yourself. Having said that, there may be occasions where some sort of backward or forward integration is worthwhile. If there was only this one supplier here, then of course you'd be worried about maybe somebody else taking him over, or them not making the product which you feel is essential. So really, to get assurance of supply, there may be a case for taking him over, but be quite wary about it. Now, once you have a group of companies in your kind of portfolio of companies, we have to know, in a way, how to manage them. And we look at a couple of methods of management here. First one you're probably familiar with, the Bcg Matrix, or the Boston Consulting Group Matrix. It looks at either subsidiaries, divisions, or products here. And first of all, it's relative market share, which is your market share, over the largest. Your market share over the largest market share. And it looks at the growth rate of the industry. And let's start down here with this question mark or problem child. It's in an industry or a product which has got a high growth rate. And this means, if you think back to your product life cycle, which tends to go like that, we're down here. Early days of the product, growing steeply. This means that it's got a big future in front of it. So everyone's quite interested in being in a market or an industry that has a high growth rate. It's early days, it's got many years in front of it that you can still sell to. However, you only have a very small market share. So maybe you've got 2% of the market, and some of the big operators have got 40% of the market. The Boston Consulting Group people say you have got no long-term future there. These 40% people can just kind of click their fingers, a bit of extra marketing which they can easily afford, drop their prices a little bit of extra research and development which they can easily afford, and you, small operator with your kind of measly 2% share, will not be able to withstand that attack. So your question is, do I get out, or do I promote myself to a star position? Do I get higher market share? And that's going to be cash negative. Here you'd be saying, if you're going to be doing that, you are building the product or the division. It's cash negative because it's going to cost you to get more market share, more innovation, more marketing, drop your selling price in a way, buy market share in some way. The star product, we now have a high market share, and this is usually regarded as a zero kind of cash flow there. And this is characterized by hold. Now it's gone from negative to a zero cash flow because its volume's increased. You're selling more, it's not just as bad. But you're not making a lot of money out of it because you're now the top of the pile, if you like. You're maybe the person with the biggest market share. You want to keep that. It's you that other people are trying to steal market share from. You're having to defend yourself, hold like a military position, hold on to your market share by still marketing extensively, promoting extensively, bringing new products on board and so on. At long last, all of these high market growths are eventually going to come to a fairly static position here. And we go up here to the cash cow, which is going to be cash positive. It's cash positive because now, of course, we have been making this product for years. We have a big market share. We're very efficient, way down the learning curve, great economies of scale. But very importantly, competitors will see that the next stage of this product is probably decline. And why would a competitor make a big effort to attack your market share in a product that they perceive as the way out? So they kind of leave you to your own devices a little bit. You've got this old product kind of just ticking away there, almost off their radar. You do a little bit of advertising just to keep in front of the public, but it doesn't need a lot because the public know and love your product. It's maybe one they enjoyed during their childhood even. And this product can be very, very lucrative, and you'd be left alone, really. The cash cow doesn't become a dog. The dog here is, by the way, this will be called harvest. So a bit like a farmer, you've had the hard work earlier in the period, and now towards the end of the year, you sit back and actually reap the benefits from this hard work. This here, the dog, you divest. It was a product which wasn't growing quickly, the market wasn't growing quickly, you didn't have much of it anyway, just get out of it. Just divest, close it down, sell it off to somebody else, but for goodness sake, just get rid of it. It's not going to do anything for you. Portfolio management works best if you have a number of different products on it, and what you really want to see is some cash cows generating money and some use for that money. You can use the positive cash flows to invest in these problem children. If all you had was problem children, there'd be a funding problem. If all you had was cash cows, we're okay now, but in a few years' time, we're going to be losing revenue because the product is old. What we want, and it's what we kind of saw when we looked at the product life cycle, you really want a kind of succession of products coming through here. So here's your the kind of cash cow stage here, and it's funding the early stages of growth of a new product and so on. You get this nice succession going through.